My name's Reuben Roper. You may know me as the Lost Doctor from Doctor Who Fractured Timeline's finale, but I'm actually also the composer of the incidental music. Now, the music that you just heard in that clip was actually the Dictator's theme. I created that for moments of great peril and stress, and particularly for the cliffhanger. Now, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I made that and also a number of other pieces for the film. Now, the main software I use is BandLab. It is a free online website where you can basically construct any music you like. It turns your laptop or PC keyboard into a piano keyboard, like so. But it's not just piano sounds that it makes. You can swap out the sound to some synths, or even a string orchestra. Maybe even an electric guitar. And so if you create layers of sound, then you can pretty much make an entire orchestra. Now, this is the Dictator's theme. I wanted it to sound almost like military, the idea that the Dictator's a one-man army with the damage that he can do. So that started with some quite tribal rhythmic drums. Now, I'm very inspired by Murray Gold. This is a Doctor Who project after all. And one of the things that Murray Gold does is that he puts in quite a lot of actual human vocals over the top. Things like choirs or even solo singers for things like Valediction when the 10th Doctor regenerated. I'm a singer myself, and I wanted to incorporate that into the soundtrack. All of the vocals are our own on the production. It's put together, mostly recorded here, and then put onto the tracks to give it that extra sort of production value. And going back to that military idea, I had this idea of chanting, something quite aggressive but also choral, and so I recorded this. And that's fine on its own, but if we want something to sound like a lot of people chanting, then all I had to do was record myself a number of times chanting and made it build up. Then what I wanted was for it to sound more musical, so I got myself singing those lines as well as chanting them. And very soon it sounded like a whole choir chanting and singing together. And so very soon what you then had was something that was aggressive, tribal, militant, but also musical and choral. And with that as my basis, it meant that I could start actually putting together the true orchestral sort of sounding instruments. So we have things like the string orchestra. That sound of the cello kind of giving it a real gravitas and a deep sort of sound. Add on to that something with a lower pitch, and you get something like this. And that gives it something quite sort of edgy and scary. That then adds towards the rhythm of the drums, the rhythm of the vocals. And once you put all that together, you get what sounds like a very aggressive, very exciting, very powerful sense of dread. One of the other important things about this soundtrack is that there is one instrument in particular that is the overarching motif of the soundtrack, and that is called the Vista Synth. The Vista Synth is this very futuristic sounding pad. It's got this really nice sustain on it. And when you play with pitches as well, it sounds fantastic. I wanted something that sounded sharp, but also space age and futuristic, and VistaSynth does a really, really nice job of that. And it also sounds really cool when it's quite low in pitch. And so I wanted to put something like that in, and that actually features in, I think, about 90% of the tracks. That was inspired very much by a music piece in 2005's Dalek, where the Doctor picks up this alien instrument and strokes it, and it creates this really nice sort of high-pitched sort of sound. And so that came back in for the scene where Julia shoots the Dalek in the episode. Another thing that I've done for this episode is, it's not just about composing original tracks for me. Doctor Who in the actual TV show is a big fan of sort of reusing tracks from previous seasons or previous pasts to bring back a sense of not just nostalgia for early episodes, but things like the Dalek theme has hardly ever changed. The Cyberman theme has hardly ever changed. And so when I came to making my Cyberman theme, I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be almost a cover of Murray Gold's original. Only this time it was made with our own motifs and the same instruments on BandLab. That motif is very, very familiar to the series. It's exactly the way they did it in 2006. And so if you recreate that a number of times over, you get a really, really cool sounding theme. But then there was also a chance for that track actually to take some even older references, so the Cyberman theme from The 10th Planet and the Tomb of the Cybermen. That melody is actually in the bass line of that theme. So that was a really fun one to do. I enjoyed that one. Other times I used melodies from Murray Gold's work and the history of the show is in The Only Way to Save the Universe, which is the scene that plays when the Dictator is explaining his plan to the Doctor. That bit's actually taken from Turn Left, and yeah, I made my own version of it because I liked it. It sounded really, really spooky, sounded really, really cool, and it reminded me of when I was watching one of the coolest finales on television, and I wanted to put it in for this finale, so that's in there as well. One of my favourite parts of this soundtrack is Life and Death, which is just after Staticus dies. They're in the TARDIS and it's crashing, and I actually managed to sample and use some original pieces of the Delia Derbyshire Doctor Who theme and make it part of the bass line. So over here I have a sampler, and this is something that basically allows me to strip something out of an already created song. It's what DJs use all the time, and you can put it on your buttons, and every time you press that button, the sound will play. So if I were to press, that's the original theme tune sped up. If I take one note from that, there you go, you've got the original Doctor Who theme bass line on there. And there you go, you've got the original Doctor Who theme bass line. I made something that had, again, some quite aggressive sounding drums, and it needed to be a moment of real suspense. So I took the original Delia Derbyshire keyboard and created this. And pretty soon, you've got a track bristling with suspense. My favourite track is, without a doubt, the Lost Doctor's reveal. That was something where I had taken some drums, originally from, I believe it was Hans Zimmer's Batman vs Superman soundtrack. Took those and realised that I could probably play the Doctor Who theme bass line on that, with the Vista synth, with a string orchestra, with basses and cellos and piano and guitars, and you could create something really, really cool. And again, put that in with a bit of original vocals, and maybe even tie some original Doctor Who motifs, like the singing from Doomsday. And together you get this really amazing sounding reveal, like a just enormous moment. I knew that that moment itself needed a really strong soundtrack, and actually I think it was the first track that I did for the episode. So that's how I created that one. I've never done a full-scale soundtrack for a feature film before. I've done a bit of composing here and there for short films, but something of this size I've never done before, and it has been an absolute joy to create, and I'm really looking forward to doing the music for the next episode as well. The soundtrack for The Doctor Lost to Time will be available on YouTube to listen to very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Reuben Roper, signing off.